connect.
It looks like those companies buy GMO seeds.
Awesome.
That's what I can tell.
Okay, trying to see if we are on. We did a trial run a while ago, and we had some issues, but hopefully you guys can hear me, and I am right way up. I didn't change any settings, so hopefully we're connected. So lots of different things that I want to talk to you about today, and sound good? Trying to get some feedback here on if the sound is good. Okay, we're good. And I'm right side up.
Yep.
Always need to check that because I can look right side up when I'm looking at you, but maybe, it goes crazy. So today is Friday. It's noon. It's Lunch and Learn with me, Dr. Polly, with Abundant Health and Wellness. Now, we are located downtown Humble at 323 East Main Street. And yes, I sound a little hoarse. I had some kind of mold exposure earlier in the week, last week, in fact, last Thursday. And on Friday morning, I had zero voice. So I've been working, trying to get everything resolved, and it's just difficult with that. So you are in my clinic. People are coming and going, so you're going to hear some different noises, but that's okay. It's kind of a mixed bag today. I try and bring you some information and some education. And so one of the things that struck my fancy today was they have had some new research, and this is put forth by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. So their website is www.pnas.org. And this just came across my desk today. Now, I think it was first published in 2014, so I'm about 3 years behind, but that's okay. And what it says is there is such a thing as a stupid virus. So if you think that people around you are getting dumber, you might be right. So I had to look at this and I had to laugh because I remember having watched Dr. Phil, and of course he says you can't fix stupid. And we do think that the population is not as smart as it used to be. We do know that the reading level is dumbed down to the 8th grade level for the mass population because people just don't read at a level that they used to. So this kind of struck my fancy. But what they did is they took a test subject of 92 different people, and 42 of them, I think it was, were tested positive for this virus. Now, this virus, I'm going to read this to you. This virus is a chlorella virus. Now, we know chlorella is a plant. It is an algae, and it's really good at heavy metal chelating, okay? That means it takes heavy metal out of your tissues, and so it's a good thing. But apparently, there is a virus that can be on these plants. The samples were obtained by throat swabs of adults without a psychiatric disorder or any serious physical illness who were participating in the study. Hey, Ray, thanks for joining. And they were measured, okay, in terms of cognitive functioning, so how well their brain worked, right? So in this study, 40 of the 92 individuals, which is 43.5%, so that's almost 0.5%, right, had this particular virus, and when they tested them, they tested lower and slower on their cognitive tasks. Now, cognitive task is remembering, counting, just different things like that. So, it's just crazy. It said that there was a subsequent decrease in performance in several cognitive domains, including recognition, memory, sensory motor performance, and several other things. So this has to do with learning, memory formation, and an immune response from this virus. So what I really want to talk to you about is your immune response, because we know that the gut, right, has a lot to do with your immune system. We have this little you've seen this before, right? This is called the ripple effect. I know it's backwards, but you can see here we have in the middle digestion, nutrients are absorbed, then up here is balance and repair, and then up here is health. So if your nutrition is good, then it will radiate toward health. On the other side, we've got, and we're going to print this and so you can see that it's right side up, but we've got poor digestion, toxicity, breakdown of the microbiome. I don't know exactly what else it says. And then at the very top is imbalance in health. And so what we want to do are inflammation here, inflammation and then imbalance. From that imbalance, everything else ensues as far as bad digestion. So I want to talk to you about two things. One is, what are we eating? Now, I have this little graphic, and we're going to post this graphic too. This graphic says Monsanto companies. And we did a little bit of research. I can't say that it's been, really, down and dirty, but we just looked at some things. And this graphic says Monsanto companies. If you are buying these products, you are funding Monsanto. So we looked to see if Monsanto owned these companies, and we couldn't find a direct link that they did. But what we did see in some of the research is that these companies use genetically modified seeds, and so the products are not clean. So this broke my heart because these are household companies that everybody loves. Aunt Jemima, Banquet, Betty Crocker, Bisquick, Cadbury's. I mean, who doesn't love a Cadbury cream egg at Christmas time or Easter time? I know it's not on the approved list, but, sometimes you have to splurge. What about Orville Redenbacher? He's supposed to be all organic, and yet he obviously is buying seeds that are genetically modified. Pepsi, Pillsbury, Pop Secret, Rice-A-Roni, Quaker, Ragu, Kool-Aid. We're going to post this so you can know. So what they want you to do is they want you to modify your shopping list and buy different brands so that you're not funding the companies that are using these genetically modified seeds. Now, we know that when you have genetically modified seeds, what you have is glyphosate in the gut. Glyphosate is the main herbicide that the different herbicide companies use, and they use this when they're harvesting their grain because it makes the kernel pop out because it shrivels the actual plant. So it's really, really good on the harvesters because the harvesters get more yield, so they're going to make more money per crop, which is a good thing. We're all about making money. But then when you take this into your body, you're taking this chemical into your body and you're going to have a problem. So we don't want to do that. One of the ways that we rectify that is through probiotics. Now, I've got some studies here on probiotics, and a lot of people don't know what probiotics are. In fact, in the clinic, I'll say, tell me about digestion. And they'll say, oh, well, I move my bowels once a day or twice a day. I'm saying I'm not talking about elimination. I'm talking about digestion. Digestion is the function of the body where you eat your food and then you've got the right enzymes and the right probiotics to see to it that the nutrients are turned into enzymes so that you can actually get the benefit of your food. Now, you may or may not be getting that. So one of the things that we ask you to do is to take probiotics. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't need to take probiotics because I do yogurt, I do kefir, I do whatever you do, right? So the probiotics that we have in a supplement are different than the probiotics that you're going to get in your food, in your fermented foods. So anything that is fermented is good for you. It helps you, but it's not the same as doing your probiotics. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of information on probiotics. Hopefully you are going to find this easy and important to understand. So if you have had your children, or if you were born by a cesarean birth, you are not going to have the natural probiotics that you should have in the large intestine, okay? That's a scientific study. I was reading about this yesterday when I was doing research on vaccines and how adjuvants and vaccines affect the gut. Don't really want to go there today because we're going to be doing some radio programs and all that, and you're going to get sick of hearing me talk about it. But the probiotics that you get from natural birth really set you up for that microbiome in the gut of the right probiotics. In fact, they call it microbiota. It is called the native microbiota in the gut, and this is what you get when you're born. Now, our lifestyle, our food choices, and our environment can change that innate native microbiota. Now, I watched a video this week, and I'm sure you can Google it and find it. But it was a study. In fact, it was a YouTube video. It was a study that showed that your DNA can respond positively or negatively to emotion, which was kind of cool that they could show this on a video in a scientific laboratory setting. But they also went a step further and showed that the environment that your DNA had also affected the way the DNA was expressed. And the way they did this was with light photons. So what they did in this laboratory setting is they had a vacuum space. I don't know how they did it, but they had a vacuum space. And they had all of these light photons in there. Now, the photons were very, very random, very, very sporadic. There was no rhyme, no reason to what they were doing. They introduced a double helix, I'm going to say a sliver of DNA, but it may be the whole, package. I'm not really sure. But they introduced that, and the photons congregated around the DNA in a specific pattern with specific order. And what they said was during this experiment that when the environment was happy and productive, that the photons congregated in a certain way. When the environment was very chaotic and stressful, the photons congregated in a different way. And this, according to them, proved that our environment had a effect on us in our body. So what does this mean for us? It means that if we are around a lot of stress, if we are around a lot of drama, if we're around a lot of negative influences in our environment, it can actually affect the way the probiotics function in our system. So we want to understand that, right? So the question here is, why isn't eating yogurt enough for probiotic repopulation? Sorry, excuse me. Yogurt and fermented foods contain live cultures, and this can be beneficial, but they should not be compared to probiotics. Probiotics are specific genre, species, and strains of bacteria that have been isolated and identified with certain characteristics. The live cultures in fermented foods have not been isolated and are not the same as probiotics. Additionally, the culture forming units, CFU, in the supplements are often much more concentrated than in the food. So when you're looking at a probiotic and it says, 3 billion CFUs, that means colony forming units. What that means is they are going to go into the large intestine or the small intestine, wherever they're supposed to live, and they are actually going to breed and reestablish the colony. So that's something that's very, very important. So the best time to take your probiotic is at night before bed, and that way it has a lot of undisturbed time to do what it needs to do in your gut. Now, what other thing did I want to tell you about that? I want to tell you this study. This is a probiotic heat stability study. So a lot of you out there think that you have to buy probiotics that have to be refrigerated, because if they're not refrigerated, they're going to lose their stability. So I want to kind of give you a highlight of this study, right? The study says probiotic heat stability study. And these particular probiotics are the transformation line, and they are a company located right here in the Houston area, and their main business is enzymes and probiotics. So we like it that they're close. We like it that they've got a very high ethical standard and all that kind of thing. So their probiotics are designed to live in a cool temperature. That would be 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So they are designed to live in the refrigerator. But they did a study to see how stable they were. And so a lot of times people wonder about stability with shipping and all that kind of stuff. So they took a bottle and they tagged it. Now this tag is called a data logger. And they put this data logger on this specific bottle of probiotic. They packed it with peanuts. They packed it in a cardboard box, just like they do when they send me stuff. And they had the logger to log on every 5 minutes and take the temperature of this particular bottle in transit. So what they did in August, which is hot for us here in the Houston area, they sent a bottle, regular ground delivery, to Tucson, Arizona. Right? It was a 2-day package. And then the people that had it in Tucson refused it, sent it back to Houston. So it was actually a total of 9 days in transit. So whenever, just to put that into perspective, when we order today, we'll get it usually the next day or the next day. So it's never more than 2 days in transit. And sometimes we get it hand delivered because we know the people and they're really good at their customer service. So the statistics were, right, that 6.5% of the time the probiotics were in the temperature in the 60 degree Fahrenheit. 66.7% of the time it was in the 70s. 21.5% of the time it was in the 80s. 2.9% of the time it was in the 90s, and then 2.5% of the time it was in the hundreds. Now, the temperature here in Houston was about 98 degrees, and the Tucson was 105 degrees. So that's kind of what the time temperature was. So this particular brand, the label says it is 4.725 billion CFUs per capsule, right? So after 10 days, under substandard shipping conditions, normal shipping time is 5 days, right? This was 10 days. The sample came back and it was tested. It showed less than a 1% drop in the colony forming units. So what that means is this particular brand, even though it is designed to be kept in your refrigerator, if you keep it in your home, on your counter, in a air-conditioned space, I don't know anybody that has air conditioning that has their space any hotter than 74 or 76 degrees. I know we keep ours about 74 or 72 in the evening. So these probiotics are very, very stable. So what does that mean? That means you don't have to worry about your probiotics being refrigerated or not. They're stable, and they're going to stay stable even under adverse conditions. So I just kind of wanted to share that study with you and let you know that we do get our probiotics usually within a 2-day span. So that's really, really good news for us. So what other little interesting fact that I want to tell you about probiotics? I've got tons of paper here. If you have any questions on probiotics, and you can certainly ask me. And again, I apologize for my voice, but like I say, it is a fungal issue in the air. Of course, we're dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, and people are still out of their homes, and debris is still on the road, and those little colonies are forming as well. So let me give you some statistics here. Digestive disorders, right? This is when you're not being able to metabolize your food. It also could be that you've got GERD, or you've got acid reflux, or you've got heartburn. It goes by a variety of names, right? So this affects 1 out of every 4 Americans. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. And so what people are seeing is they go down to the grocery store or the pharmacy, and they pick up the over-the-counter protein pump inhibitors or acid reflux medicine. And so what they're doing is they're having this problem with the digestive discomfort, such as gas and bloating. So we don't want to do that. The recent report from the World Health Organization has ranked colorectal cancer and stomach cancer among the top 10 causes of death in the United States. So why do we get colon cancer? Why do we get stomach cancer? Because the microbiome of the stomach is not right. So as we get older, we can have poor acid in the stomach. Now, your acid reflux is a symptom. It can be because of too many or too much acid, or it can be the result of too little acid. So your symptom is going to be the same. Now, if you come and see me and we do an iridology evaluation, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the stomach zone in the eye, and we can tell whether you're suffering from over acid or under acid. So the symptom is the same, but the recommendations are going to be different. So there are two key roles of beneficial bacteria in supporting digestion and immunity. Now, we want to have immunity. Immunity is key for us to be able to withstand the onslaughts of a bad environment. So let's just say people come in here in the clinic all the time. We're a clinic, so people come in sick, right? So my environment can be toxic at any particular point in the day. So what do we do to cleanse our environment? Well, we've got essential oil going almost 24/7. We've got nice music going almost 24/7. We pray every morning that the Lord just helps us and protects us against the germs and that kind of thing. But we also make sure that our probiotics and our digestive enzymes are doing what they need to do. So what we found also, this is in a new study, is that babies, and I alluded to this earlier, babies that are born via cesarean, right, have a multiplied risk of being diagnosed with irritable bowel disease within their first year of life, because they did not get that essential probiotic as they were born through the birth canal. So isn't that amazing that the way God designed the body, that we're able to help our immune system with that? Now, I know in the last 10 years, it's been very, very popular for women to sign up with their OBGYN and schedule a cesarean birth. They don't want to go through the last few weeks of pregnancy because they waddle and they, have the kind of beached whale syndrome. And I remember I had 2 children. I remember what that is. But there's so much benefit for your babies being born naturally. And so one of the things that we're finding with the push to have your babies via cesarean is that within 1 year there is an increase in infants diagnosed with irritable bowel disease. So that's not something that we would want to wish on anyone, but I can tell you that we have had people that have been diagnosed with Crohn's, IBS, and all that kind of stuff. They do our protocols, and usually within 90 days we have a better response. They go back. Are you hearing me? Are we reconnected? Are we reconnected now? I don't know. Maybe we are. The computer was telling me that we had a problem. Doesn't like me doing this. Okay. Animal studies have shown that different strains of probiotics can have different effects on the immune system. So because of that, what we want to do is we want to rotate our probiotics. Remember, we've got different strains. We've got different colony forming units, different billions, and so you want to rotate that so you're getting each of these different strains repopulated. So what kills our probiotics? When you take an antibiotic treatment, and all of us have done that because we've all been sick. When you do that, it's like pouring bleach in an aquarium to get rid of the algae on the aquarium. Now, it's going to get rid of the algae on the sides of the aquarium, but it's also going to kill the fish. So when we do the antibiotics, it kills the bad guys, but it also kills the good guys. So we don't really want to do that. But if we have to do that, then we want to reseed with the probiotics, and we want to make sure that that is something that we rotate, because these studies have shown that it's very, very important. And I just noticed that somebody very, very important to me is watching, so thank you very much. How are probiotics and enzymes confused? Okay, so a lot of people have that confusion. So let's just kind of give you a primer on that. Digestive enzymes are proteins that catalyze the breakdown of food into nutrients for absorption in the bloodstream, right? Probiotics, on the other hand, are live supplemental microorganisms that support the native microbiota. So you need both. A lot of times people come in and they're confused. They don't know that they need both probiotics and enzymes, but we do need that. So where are we on my timing? Are we good? We got 4 minutes. Okay. So I want to just encourage you to think about your environmental health, because the environmental area where you are affects your DNA. It can turn on the good cells, it can turn off the bad cells, or conversely, if your environment is negative and stressed, it can turn off the good cells and allow the bad cells to be turned on. So none of us want that. So I just want to encourage you to be happy, to be joyful, to be full of gratitude, because all of that makes your insides happy. And we need your insides to be happy so that your immune system can flourish. So I'm going to say goodbye and Merry Christmas. And hopefully I will see you next week. I know we are closed. The clinic is closed next week so that all of my people can enjoy Christmas with their families. But we will be back in full swing on January the 2nd. So you guys will be blessed. I love you very much. And I look forward to celebrating with you over the Christmas holiday. Bye.